We continue today with episode 5 in our series No Night So Dark, that tells the story of 5 generations of the Wels family. In the previous episode, we followed Rudolf Wels through his childhood in rural Bohemia and heard how his father Šimon battled to give his children the best possible education. Today, we pick up the story. Rudolf has qualified as an architect in Vienna and has been working in the office of the legendary Rudolf Wels. But then everything is turned upside down.
In the summer of 1914, war breaks out. The young architect Rudolf Wels is conscripted. He joins the 6th Infantry Battalion based in the West Bohemian town of Cheb, or Eger as it's known in German, not too far from the region where he grew up.
23rd of April 1915.
He sends a letter to his friend, the Czech poet Josef Svatopluk Machar.
I have come back from the front for the 3rd time, and this time I hope it's for good. Bullet wound, chest, left-hand side, neuralgia, chronic middle ear infection. The last of these really hurts and will carry on hurting for some time, but it will be what saves me from the battlefield. Mr. Machar, the withdrawal from Krasnik and the second from Ivangorod, and now the trenches near Zaklichin. God, I've had my fill of it all.
It's clear that Rudolf shares his father Šimon's suspicion of all things military, especially a wariness of power in the wrong hands. Politics, Šimon writes in his memoir, can be so poisonous that it transforms uniformed men into wild beasts. And Rudolf feels much the same.
At the beginning, in the autumn, at least there was a sense of novelty. The bullets flying around and all that, the risking your life for God knows what. But now nothing but mud and a pain in the head. I'm just glad I'm back under a roof. It's as if I've returned from a delirium.
The injured Rudolf convalesces in Cheb. In a letter to Rudolf, another friend teases him. He's heard a rumour that Rudolf has been seen with rather a pretty Jewish girl whose family lives in a nice villa on the edge of town. Here on Colin Wells's dining room table in Oxford, we've come across a photo of a dark-haired girl looking rather smart in her nurse's uniform. Convalescing in Cheb clearly hasn't been such a bad thing for Rudolf. The girl is called Ida.
I mean, and there's more
yes,
down to here as well.
Oh, this is Ida's birth certificate.
Ah.
But she was born, was it 1890? 1894. But this is a copy of it from the Cheb Rabbinat.
The Rabbinat.
So from 1919. So this is a copy of her birth certificate.
Her father was a Velko obchodnik, so he was obviously a successful man.
Ida is Colin Wells's grandmother.
Oh, these are fascinating.
With the war still raging, Ida and Rudolf get married and go to live together in Vienna.
Here's the children's city that he designed. Very idealistic, which I love. I love that. I think this is beautifully drawn as well.
Well, I love his pictures.
This is very Vienna of the time, isn't it? It's very Adolf Loos as well.
I've been looking with Colin at some of Rudolf's remarkable drawings for an unrealised project for a children's city, a home for war orphans. It dates from 1917. It has the same idealism that we see in Rudolf's Garden City book, perhaps reinforced by his experiences of the front. There's something quite new in the architecture. The children are playing in buildings with simple, clean lines, stripped of ornament. The influence of Adolf Loos is clear. The impression is of an idealised world, far removed from the reality of Rudolf's experiences of the trenches.
The war is drawing to a close, and all the energies that for years have been put into destroying life and culture will soon once again need to be directed towards the rebuilding and protection of both those things.
It is 1918. The old world has collapsed. Austria-Hungary has lost the war, and Rudolf's father's hero, Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, has become the first president of an independent Czechoslovakia. Rudolf and Ida return home from Vienna. They have settled in West Bohemia, close to Ida's native Cheb, and Rudolf starts looking for commissions. His idealism has survived the war. At this point, the story takes a more documentary turn, as Rudolf also speaks to us through the buildings that he designed. I'm in the small town of Chodov, near Karlovy Vary, Karlsbad, with the historian Michal Rund, and we're standing by the very first project by Rudolf that was built in Czechoslovakia, just a couple of years after the end of the First World War.
Rudolf Wels navrhl kolonie pro horníky. Ta jeho práce spočívala v tom, že vlastně dostal k dispozici.
Rudolf Wels designed a housing estate for miners. As you can see, there are individual and semi-detached houses of various types. He succeeded in giving the estate an unusual curved plan. He really put into practice the idea of the garden city. You can compare it to England.
And you can see that it's a place that's lived in.
I expect that people that love old things would be a bit disappointed to see how much the houses have changed. But I think the architect himself would have been pleased to see how people are living here over 90 years later. Just look at their gardens.
It's probably no surprise that in the early 1920s the Wels family moves to nearby Karlovy Vary, one of Central Europe's most elegant spa towns. Rudolf gets plenty of commissions, and his contacts in the region through Ida's family certainly help. These are the Carlsbad. Look, these are the boys. This is your father and your uncle, isn't it, playing with their train set? With Colin Wells and Jerry Turner, I'm looking at photos from Karlovy Vary. Rudolf and Ida's first son, Colin's father Tomáš, was born in 1920, and Martin 5 years later. The photos give a sense of confidence and optimism.
They did a lot. They were a very active family, and it looks like a very happy time that they had there.
And of course Rudolf was building one building after another. I mean, he was incredibly active as an architect at the time.
Jmenuji se Michal Rund a jsem ředitelem Sokolovského muzea.
My name is Michal Rund. I'm the director of the Sokolov Museum.
Sokolov is an industrial town close to Karlovy Vary.
I've been researching into Rudolf Wels for many years. We're standing in front of the miners' house in Sokolov, which I think is one of Rudolf Wels's most interesting buildings. It was built in 1925 to serve the social life of the miners, but it had other functions too. Now it's the town's house of culture, the place where just about everything happens. The front of the building, looking onto the square here, is quite monumental, with steps going up to it. If you look up, you can see a sculptural relief going the whole length of the front. It shows a day in the life of a miner, and it's also by Rudolf Wels.
This building must have been an ideal commission for Rudolf Wels.
Definitely. This building was quite controversial in Sokolov at the time. Some of the good citizens of the town thought it was too left-wing. For example, at one place there used to be two busts. A rather unexpected combination. It was Marx and President Masaryk. When the building first opened, they called it the Armory of the Proletariat. The town's first cinema was in the miners' house here. But some of the townsfolk refused to go anywhere near it and preferred to wait till the second cinema opened a few years later. They wouldn't dream of coming into this proletarian cinema.
se otevřelo v Sokolově druhé kino, až teprve potom šli v Sokolově do kina, do tady toho kina by prostě nevstoupili.
can you actually take the vase in your hand? And, shall I pass it?
It's all right. This fantastic vase, which is in black glass with fish designs all over it, beautiful fish designs. And on that vase is R. Wels. So it's obviously Rudolf's design.
And it is still intact.
And it is. And it sits on the sideboard. I do worry that somebody's going to knock the sideboard and it's going to fall off. But it's a beautiful reminder of the quality that Rudolf produced. So.
Moser sklo králů.
Moser, the glass of kings. We've come into the smart exhibition gallery of the Moser Glassworks in Karlovy Vary, and the woman at the desk tells us that in the third room we'll find some pieces that are still being made to Rudolf Wels' designs.
The Animor series, with various Chinese-looking animal motifs, is very popular. Here it is. Animor, 1926, Rudolf Wels, with elephants, giraffes.
Žiraf. Vidíte, že to jsou nádherný kousky prostě, jo.
I am sending you this article so that you can share our pride at what Dad has been up to. This is what the papers are writing about him. The new regional health insurance headquarters in Karlovy Vary. The work is done. The building is ready. Just a couple of weeks ago, this would have seemed unthinkable. Wherever you went, they were drilling and hammering, painting and assembling, everything shrouded in scaffolding, craftsmen running in all directions, piles of builders' rubbish everywhere, bricks and sawdust.
Máme v tehdejší době nejmodernější budovu.
At the time, it was the most modern building in Karlovy Vary. It's a health centre now, but used to be the health insurance headquarters. The clinker facade is an interesting element. One nice thing is that the current owner is a great admirer of Rudolf Wels. He had a memorial plaque put up by the entrance. We can see the original interior, which they really tried to preserve. Here is the clock, just as it was then. And they've made a little exhibition space with pictures of some of his buildings.
Pamětní síň Rudolfa Welse, kde jsou připomenuty jeho stavby.
Takže tady je kavárna, která...
And here is the Wels Café, named after Rudolf Wels.
Yes, and it looks like they got rather good cakes here. Let's stop for a bite to eat.
Now it stands proud like a beacon, its clinker facade shining and the windows sparkling. The building is ready to welcome its first visitors. From tomorrow, it will serve all the workers and employees in the whole Karlovy Vary district whose health is in danger or damaged.
In 1933, the Wels family moves to Prague. The two boys, Tomáš and Martin, relish life in the capital city.
Národní politika, latest edition.
Huge mining accident in South Australia.
Special edition.
We're back in the world of Sancta Familia, the book the two boys have written, made up of scenes from their daily life. Martin and his father are standing amid the bustle at the bottom of Wenceslas Square.
Sensational announcement by General Gaida for 20 headers.
Express, just out. Express.
Freemasonry uncovered in Czechoslovakia.
Telegraph, telegraph.
What the English General Staff thinks of our army.
Národní politika, národní právo, Express.
Telegraph.
Hvězdička, nový zpravodaj.
Need a taxi? Anyone need a taxi?
the Wels family is on its way to the Alpha Cinema. It's halfway up Wenceslas Square. The entrance is light and bright with lots of glass, another of Rudolf's designs. But they're not here just to admire the building. It's the 26th of October 1934 and a new film is being premiered.
Hej, rup, peklo nebude, ráj se vrací, hej, rup, s námi kdo bude, najde práci, hej, rup.
It's a comedy called Hey Rup, which means heave ho, and it stars Jan Werich and Jiří Voskovec, Czechoslovakia's best-loved cabaret artists. The film has a clear message. The penniless former factory owner, played by Jan Werich, ends up forming a workers' cooperative with an unemployed worker, played by Jiří Voskovec, and between them they save the day. The director, Martin Fritsch, chose Rudolf Wels and his partner Guido Lagus as the film's architects. Colin has several stills from the film and from others that his grandfather Rudolf worked on with Martin Fritsch and other directors. Some of the photos have a wonderful Art Deco feel to them, light and modern.
Oh, here's the film set.
Oh, these are the pictures from the film sets, yes. There it is. It's a still from the film.
Mm-hmm.
The film has ended. Rudolf is still in the cinema. Everyone wants to talk to him. But Martin is heading back down Wenceslas Square with his mother. They stop at Mustek.
Mutti, komm in die Corona. Außerdem hab ich auch Hunger.
In die Corona willst du gehen, du Lauser? Komm, geh mal.
Mom, speak Czech. We're in the Corona now. You can't speak German here.
What will you have, Martin? A meatball?
You bet. Get yourself one too, Mom.
No, I really shouldn't. Here is a crown.
I push my way through the crowd and return with a meatball. Hey, Mom, look how much onion she gave me. Have a bite.
No, I'd better not.
Then all you see is a row of fine teeth, which carefully and cleanly bite off a piece of that fatty meatball. Did you like it, Mum?
Ja, lecker.
After 1933, Rudolf Wels enjoys several years as a successful architect in Prague, building a number of apartment blocks in smart parts of the city centre. His business partner, fellow architect Guido Lagus, works closely with German intellectuals who are fleeing to Prague to escape Hitler. He edits and publishes the literary magazine Neue Deutsche Blätter. Unlike Rudolf, whose political sympathies are with social democracy and the humanism of President Masaryk, Lagus has an earnest faith in communism.
Rudolf arrives at work. His partner is already there.
Good morning, Mr. Wels.
Tomasz and Martin poke gentle fun at his faith in the Soviet Union in Sancta Familia.
An amazing thing came to my mind during the night. Sit down. Just look. If these countries were all to join forces and if Russia were to arm herself properly, then Germany couldn't move a muscle. What do you think?
Yes, that would be nice.
Wouldn't it? That's what should be done. And you know when it came to me? At 3:15 in the morning. Isn't it wonderful?
In part 5 of the series No Night So Dark, we heard Markéta Richterová as Ida Wels, Oliver Dubsky as Martin Wels, Alex Wendt as Rudolf Wels, Gordon Truefort as Šimon Wels, John Tregelles as Guido Lagus, and Colin Wels, Jerry Turner, Michael Rund and David Vaughan as themselves. Michael Rund's words in English were read by Rob Anderson. The series was written by David Vaughan and edited by Jiří Matějček. It was recorded in the studios of Radio Prague International. We'll be continuing with part 6 next week, and you can also subscribe to the series as a podcast. That's all from us for now. You'll find us at radio.cz. Thanks for listening and take care.